This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, I'm Dr. Divya from TeenEinstein. Today we are going to discuss about organism and population, chapter 13, part 5. In the last class, we were discussing about population. Okay, so how we can define population, or what is a population? What do you mean by population? Population means a group of organisms of a particular species. In a particular species, a group of organisms, that is called as population, and that population will be occupying a defined geographical area. So in that geographical area, a particular species of organism will be living. That is called as population. And these organisms, they're sharing that resources, whatever resources are available in that particular habitat or in a particular geographical area, these organisms which are living as a population, that those organisms which is belonging to that population, they'll be sharing the resources and they'll be competing. At the same time, they'll be competing for that resources also, because they'll compete for food, water, everything, they'll compete. So they are competing, at the same time they are sharing that resources, right? The place of living, that is sharing, and the food, for food they are competing. So for different resources, they are sharing the resources as well as they are competing for that. And interbreeding, they are interbreeding. So within that population, breeding occurs. That is called as interbreeding. So this interbreeding, what do you mean by sure? Sexual reproduction, right? So that shows some degree of differences from similar groups. This population shows a degree, up to a degree of differences, up to a level. It is showing some kind of differences from the other similar groups. There will be same kind of organism, like we can see that parrots are there. Parrots are of different types. So they have, commonly they are called as parrots, but different types are there. So each parrot group, they are living as a population, but it is showing slight difference, maybe in color, maybe beak, or some kind of differences it is showing from other group. So interbreeding also occurs within that population. Interbreeding means, in this case, we can consider like interbreeding, it is a kind of sexual reproduction, right? But not only from sexual reproduction, from asexual reproduction also, a population is getting developed, right? How we can say that? Yesterday we said about 2-3 examples for population. Some dark feathered bird group, which are commonly seen in wetland, they're called as cormorant. Then lotus plant in a pond, lotus plant. Then teakwood trees in forest. These and all yesterday we explained as a example for population. Teakwood, that and all won't go for sexual reproduction, that is asexual reproduction, right? So for such things, and bacteria in a culture plate, bacteria are there, means that is called as a population. So all these are the examples for population. Some may have sexual reproduction and some follows asexual reproduction method, right? Then very important research area, that is population ecology. Actually this is giving a link or an idea about evolution also, because the selected ones, the organism which is having desired character, that will get selected, right? Yesterday we explained about different kinds of organism which can survive in different conditions, different environmental conditions, and also according to that environmental condition, it is developing some kind of adaptations. So that adapted one will get selected. Other organism which is not having adaptation to survive in extreme temperature or in extreme cold condition, they will die. They cannot survive, so they will die. So the adaptation or the adapted one, the best one which is able to survive in that condition, that is getting selected. So that forms an evolved organism, the same kind of organism, but the evolved one. So this nature selects the best one, the adapted one. So to select the desired trait, natural selection is working there. Natural selection occurs. At the population level, it is occurring. So that's why population ecology is becoming very important area of study. Okay. So up to that, yesterday we explained, we discussed about all those things. Then next, population attributes. The attributes in the sense, they have some characteristics. So a population is having some attributes. That an individual organism won't be having that. But when it is becoming a population, their population has certain attributes. So which are they? By one. So an individual organism, you know that an individual organism, they have birth and death. See, when an individual organism, when it is coming to a population level, we can't say that the population is having birth and death. Right? We can't use that term, birth and death, for a population. We can use it at individual level, we can use. An individual is born or an individual is dying or dead. Like that we can use. But when it is coming to the population level, we can't use the term birth and death in the case of population. Instead of that, we can use birth rate and death rate. In the case of population, we can use birth rate and death rate. So what do you mean by this birth rate and death rate? How can you explain this birth rate and death rate? Birth rate or death rate, that is expressing the change in that number. That means increase or decrease. Increase or decrease in the number with respect to the number of organism or number of the number of members of that population. Okay. See, total 100 members are there. So we can say death rate or birth rate with respect to that number. The total number of organisms are considered in a population, and based on that number, we can say death rate or birth rate. That means that number is getting changed. Birth rate means birth rate is more, means that number is increasing. Death rate means it is getting decreased. That's how we are expressing. In the case of population, we can express a birth rate or death rate with respect to the total number of organisms belonging to that population. So in a population, we can explain as birth rate or death rate. For example, here we are saying in last year, in a pond, there were 20 lotus plants. Okay. The total number of lotus plants in last year, 20. Then, through reproduction, 8 plants are newly added. So first, in the last year, 20 lotus plants were there. And through reproduction, 8 plants are added, newly added. Then, what will be the current population then? Current population is 28. First it was 20, through reproduction 8 new plants were added. So the current population is 28. Right? Then how to calculate the birth rate? It is calculated as 8, that means newly added one, divided by 20. 20 means last year how many were there? Not the current population. Before that, what was the population? 20. And how many are newly added? 8. So 8 by 20 is equal to 0.4 offsprings per lotus per year. This is the birth rate. Okay. So total last year 20 plants were there, and through reproduction new 8 plants were added, and the current population, we can say 20 plus 8, 28. So how to calculate the birth rate? Birth rate, newly added plants divided by previous population. 20, that is equal to 0.4 offsprings. So per year, how many offsprings are getting added? 0.4 offsprings per lotus per year. Okay. Then another example. Fruit flies. In a laboratory population, 40 fruit flies. 40 fruit flies, and among that 4 died. In a week, 4 died. Then during that period, death rate is out of 40, 4 died. Here, newly added one 8. Then 4 died out of 40. So death rate, how we can calculate per week? 4 divided by 40. 4 died out of 40 is equal to 0.1 individual per week. Okay. So that's how we are calculating death rate. Then, so what we said, according to this population, there are different population attributes. So here, for an individual, there is birth and death. But in the case of population, we are considering whole organism. So we cannot say birth and death. We can say as birth rate and death rate. So what is birth rate or death rate? This rate means that is change in number. That is expressed as change in number. That may be increasing or decreasing. That number may be increasing or decreasing. That with respect to the members of the population. Okay. So increase or decrease with respect to members of the population. For example, we said 20 lotus plants last year, and newly added one 8 new plants were added. So the current population 28. So we can calculate birth rate as 8 by 20 is equal to 0.4 per year. Then another one, this is for birth rate, and how to calculate death rate. 4 individuals in a laboratory population of 40 fruit flies. They died during a specified time. Okay. So how to calculate? Means within a week they died. 4 out of 40 died. So how to calculate death rate in that population? 4 by 40. 4 died out of 40. 4 divided by 40 is equal to 0.1 per week. 0.1 individual or 0.1 fruit fly is dying per week. Next, another attribute. Another characteristic of population, that is sex ratio. First one is death rate and birth rate. Okay. The number is whether to, just to know that whether the number is increasing or decreasing in a population. That means birth rate and death rate. Next is sex ratio. So in a population, you know that all individuals, either that may be male or a female. Right? Normally it will be male or female. But a population, we can't say like a male or female like that. We can say sex ratio in the case of population. In the case of population, we can explain it as a ratio. like how we are explaining about birth rate and death rate. We can consider it as a rate. That means change in that number. We can express it as a rate. Either it may be increasing or decreasing in the case of birth rate and death rate. Here, the sex ratio, that population will be having several organisms or several individuals. Each individual may belong to male or female category. But each one we can't explain like that. Instead of that, what we'll do, we will explain it as a sex ratio. So how we will explain that sex ratio? So in a population, for example, we can say 1,000 individuals are there. In total, 1,000 individuals are there. Out of that, 600 are female. Then out of 1,000, 600 are female. Then remaining 400 may be male. So the sex ratio, how we can say sex ratio of female to male, how we can say it is 60:40. That means 60% of the population are female and 40% are male. Right? Instead of that, just leave that. In a population, 1,000, instead of 1,000, just for simple example, we will calculate as 100. 100 individuals are there in total. Okay, just consider 100 individuals are there. In that, 60 are out of 100 means it is very easy to calculate the percentage, right? So out of 100, 60 are female and 40 are male. Consider like that. 60% of the population are female and 40% males. So how the sex ratio we can say female to male sex ratio, that is 60:40. Then that number is increasing. Then also in the same ratio it is going means we can say in this population female to male ratio is 60:40. So that's how the characteristic of population sex ratio we are explaining. The sex ratio we are mentioning. We are not mentioning the number of male and female. Okay, we are explaining the ratio of that. We are considering the ratio of population or sex ratio of that population. So the attribute characteristic, another attribute characteristic of population is sex ratio. That means either that individual will be male or female. But the population has a sex ratio. Means out of 100, 60 females and 40 males are there. Means how we can say the ratio 60 out of 100 means 60% of the population are female. Then out of 100, 40 are male means 40% males. So population, in that population sex ratio female to male, how we can say 60:40. Next attribute. Next is population age. Population age is the next attribute. So in a given time, a population you can check anytime, just consider that time you can check that population. So it will be having individuals of different age. So first we said about death rate and birth rate. Second one is sex ratio. These are the population attributes. You may get questions like explain different population attributes. That time you have to write each title and under that you have to explain the specific points. Just give an example. First you have to give the point, then explain it with the help of an example. Then it will be easy to understand. Here, the third point what we are explaining is population age. See, when we are considering one population, in that population, so many individuals will be there. Individual organisms will be there. In that individuals, you can consider the age of that population. So that organism or that population will be having individuals of different age group, isn't it? Some may be pre-reproductive. Okay, some organism will be pre-reproductive. That means before reproduction, that stage, before reproductive stage. Some organisms will be in reproductive stage, and another stage will be that post-reproductive, after reproduction. That age group also will be there. Okay, pre-reproductive, reproductive, then post-reproductive. Like that, 3 groups you can see. So how we can explain this in the case of a population? The age of the population, that is, here you can see that is represented by constructing age pyramids. Okay, here age pyramids. Here you can see in a population, we are making into 3 groups: pre-reproductive, reproductive, and post-reproductive. So in that pre-reproductive, that is before reproduction, which and all organisms are belonging to that group, we are making it to 1 group. Then reproductive, those are in reproductive stage that we are making a group. The next is post-reproductive. In post-reproductive, we can see some organisms. So all these we are explaining with the help of age pyramid. What is age pyramid? Age pyramid means it's nothing but a graphical representation. You can see here the graphical representation. Here 3 types of graphs you can see. In that different portion of graph, here you can see the portions of graph that represents different age group of that population. See this is a population. In that 3 different stages are there. Organisms are belonging to 3 different stages: pre-reproductive stage, reproductive stage, and post-reproductive stage. To calculate the age of individuals of that population, this is the correct dividing method. We are considering the age in the sense which are belonging to post-reproductive or reproductive, then pre-reproductive. Like in the case of human being, what will say? Like with whom and all belonging to the age group above 60, then below 18, and in between that. Like that, we are making different groups. In the same sense, we are using here this post-reproductive, reproductive, and pre-reproductive. Like that, 3 groups. So in the human population, that age pyramid, generally the age pyramid that shows age of male and female in a combined graph. We can see the age and age of male and female in the graph. Okay, the important point is the shape of that pyramid that shows the growth status of the population. The shape of that pyramid that is showing the growth status, whether that population is growing or not. So from the shape of that pyramid, we can make out whether that population is growing or not. So from that graph, we can make like this, whether it is expanding or whether it is stable or it is declining. Okay, so from the shape of the graph, we can make out it is growing or not, whether it is stable or it is declining or it is expanding. Got it? So here the population age, how we can explain this? A population at any given time, that is composed of individuals of different age groups, right? Pre-reproductive, reproductive, and post-reproductive. So the representation of population age, that is done with the help of age pyramids. Here you can see age pyramids. So an age pyramid, that is the graphical representation of proportion of different age group of a population, right? Different age group of a population, we can represent it with the help of this age pyramid. So in human population age pyramid, that we can see the distribution of male and female in a combined graph. In the case of, because age in there in the age pyramid, there is no need to separate it, right? Individuals which are belonging to this age group, they can mark it as the male or female, either it may be a male or female, but we can mark it as a general group like between this age. So in human being, in male and female, in a combined diagram we can mention. And that shape of the pyramid, that represents the growth status of that population. There are 3 types of age pyramids. 3 types, note down: triangular, bell-shaped, urn-shaped. Triangular pyramids are there, bell-shaped pyramids are there, and urn-shaped pyramids are there. Triangular pyramids. Triangular pyramid, what do you mean by triangular pyramid? That is the representation of young or growing population. And that will come in the shape of a triangle. In triangular pyramid, population that is having high proportion of reproductive individuals. Okay, high proportion, reproductive individuals will be in high proportion. Sorry, pre-reproductive individuals. Here you can see pre-reproductive individuals, they'll be in high proportion. Then in pre-reproductive individuals, that will be in high proportion. Then reproductive individuals, that is moderate reproductive individuals. In reproductive stage, you can see moderate. Then next is post-reproductive individuals. They are proportionately fewer. Post-reproductive, after reproduction, that will be fewer. Then here what we can understand from this triangular age pyramid. See, pre-reproductive individuals, that number is more. So this population will be growing. This shows the growth. Because more and more individuals from this pre-reproductive stage, they will enter into reproductive stage and it will move to next stage also, right? So here individuals are more, means definitely it will move to next stage. So that population will grow. That shows the growth of that population. Got it? Here we can see pre-reproductive, reproductive and post-reproductive. So in triangular age pyramid, you can see pre-reproductive individuals, more numbers, and compared to this pre-reproductive, reproductive individuals will be moderate, but very a few number of post-reproductive you can see. But here the thing is, from this what we can understand, here the individuals, those are in pre-reproductive stage, they are more in number. So from pre-reproductive stage, it is going to reproductive. Those many individuals will go. Suppose here 1,000 individuals are there. Out of that, all these 1,000 will go to next stage, reproductive stage. That means now currently here the reproductive stage, the individuals in the reproductive stage, it is showing very less compared to the pre-reproductive stage. Now this number is less. Those are in reproductive stage, right? But when time comes, this pre-reproductive stage organism, that will move to reproductive stage after some time. So this here 1,000 numbers are there, means this whole 1,000 will move to reproductive stage. That means this is growing. This is expanding. This shows growth, triangular shape. Then again, all those are in reproductive stage, that will move to post-reproductive stage also. That means this will grow. This number is increasing, right? So that here the population, the size of that population is rapidly increasing in the case of triangular. Next is bell-shaped. In bell-shaped, pre-reproductive individuals will be more than reproductive individuals. There is a slight difference which shows the pre-reproductive and reproductive. Here you can see there is not much difference. Okay, so here you can't see much growth. Here the pyramid, that is bell-like, with pre-reproductive individuals that being only marginally more than the reproductive individuals. It's marginally more than the reproductive. There is a slight difference. So population is said to be mature. Means those, how many numbers are there here? Only those many numbers are entering to next stage, and from there it is growing like that. Okay, there is no much difference in the pre-reproductive individuals number and reproductive individuals number. That is slight, only marginal difference it is showing. So we can't consider it as, we can't say that it is growing. So it's showing the stability. Okay, it's not growing or expanding, it is showing the stability. So it is mature. When it is, that population is mature or that is stable, we can call it as a stable or mature population, because there is no increase or decrease in the size due to growth rate. There is no increase or decrease. So the growth rate, that is almost zero in the case of stable one or the bell shaped. Here triangular, growth rate is there. Here it is stable. Triangular one is expanding one. Here bell shaped, it is stable or mature population, or there is no increase or decrease in the size. It's means there is no considerable growth rate. Okay, so that is almost, growth rate is almost zero in the case of stable one. Next comes urn-shaped. Urn-shaped, in this small number of pre-reproductive individuals. Here you can see pre-reproductive individuals, small number, and that is followed by large number of reproductive individuals. Here reproductive individuals you can see large number. Then again fewer individuals in the post-reproductive group also. Here post-reproductive group also, number of individuals are comparatively less. So that population size is declining, or that is showing declining. It is declining with time. So that shows declined growth or negative growth. This is declining, or it is showing negative growth. Okay, here pre-reproductive fewer number, post-reproductive also number comparatively less. Okay, so that is showing declined growth or negative growth. So there are three types: expanding, stable, and declining. In expanding, that population shows growth. In stable one, the growth is almost zero, and declining one, that shows negative growth or the declined growth. Okay, so population age, that is another attribute of population. At any given time, a population is composed of individuals of different ages. If the age distribution it is plotted for the population, the resulting structure that is called as age pyramid. It is the age distribution which is plotted for a population that is called as age pyramid. For human population, age pyramid generally show age distribution of male and female in a diagram. Okay, in a single diagram we can show that. And the shape of the pyramid that reflects the growth status of the population. Shape of the pyramid. From the shape of the pyramid, we can make out the growth status of that particular population. We can say whether it is growing or whether it is stable or it is declining. So first we said about triangular one. In triangular one, that shows a young or a growing population that appears like a triangle, and pre-reproductive individuals will be more in that, and proportionate number of reproductive individuals that is moderate, and post-reproductive individuals are proportionately fewer than. Because here you can see very large number of pre-reproductive individuals. So more and more of them enter into reproductive phase, and that rapidly increases the size of population. Here in the expanding. So this population is expanding one. Okay, growing population. This shape shows growing population, triangular one. Next is bell-shaped one. So that pyramid is like a bell shape with pre-reproductive individuals. It's being only marginally, it is more than the reproductive individuals. Okay. Pre-reproductive individuals more than the reproductive individuals. And marginally it is showing that the population, this population is stable. And there is no increase or decrease in the size, because their growth rate is almost zero. So it is a stable population. This shows a stable population. The bell shape shows stable population. Next is urn shaped. Urn shaped, that is with a small number of pre-reproductive individuals, and it is followed by large number of reproductive individuals. Okay. Pre-reproductive individuals are very less number and large number of reproductive individuals. So there are fewer individuals in the pre-reproductive age group. So the population size will decline. Because when this fewer number, when it is going to reproductive stage, definitely it is reducing. Now, at this time, at this second, see here, the blue color, that shows the reproductive individuals. Now it is more. But here, this organisms are the individuals which are in reproductive stage that will move to post-reproductive stage after some time. But here the pre-reproductive stage, it is showing very less number. Next, this is moving to the reproductive stage. Those who are in the pre-reproductive stage, that is moving to the reproductive stage. But here you can see very less number. When this is moving to the reproductive stage, definitely the number is getting reduced. Right? So that population is showing a declined growth or a negative growth. So here, first one is expanding, second one is stable, and third one is declining. I am repeatedly explaining this because these questions are repeated for NEET exam. From the shape of this age pyramid, you need to find out the nature of that population. Different types of questions are coming with respect to this diagram. So you have to learn the nature of each population with the help of diagram or with the help of this graph. Age pyramid. You should be able to make out whether it is growing or stable or declining. You have to find out there is a growth rate or it is zero growth rate, whether it is positive growth rate or whether it is zero or it is showing a negative growth. Okay, so that much should be clear from this. This question you can expect from this portion. And next is about population density. Population density, which is designated as N, population density or population size. So population density or population size, that is the size of the population. So the size of the population, that tells a lot about this status in the habitat, right? Population density of that habitat, it depends upon the habitat. So we can tell if density is more, means that habitat is supporting for the growth of that population. Then change in the population size. So the change in that population size, there is any change, means that change that is used to evaluate various ecological processes. Like we can say that is the outcome of competition of members of one species with another species, or there is a predator, or the effect of pesticide application. Like that we can say different reasons. So population size of a given area or a space, that is known by different ways. Okay, we can say population density. Population density, that is measured in numbers. So total number is generally, that is the measure of population density within an area. How many number of individuals are there, that shows the population density. So in some case it will be difficult. Okay, in some case it is difficult to measure that population density. So how we can that population size of a given area or that space, how we can make out that? There are different ways. Total number we can check. Total number. See how we can check the total number? By counting all the individuals of that space. If it is a limited number, we can count the number of individuals, right? So the size of the population in nature, we cannot predict that. We can say it may be below 10, or like it may be a large number that may go to millions. Okay, so in a pond you can see that chlamydomonas in a pond, that may be millions, right? So that is also a population. But here Siberian crane in wetland, which Bharatpur wetland, in a year that may be below 10. Okay, so that is also a population. So that population, sometimes we can count the total number, right? In some case, if there is a limited number, we can count and find out the population density. At the same time, it may exceed millions. That time we can't count each and every individual. So this is a method, counting the total number. This is just a method, but sometimes it is becoming impossible due to huge number. Then next is biomass. Biomass or person cover. That is another method. Biomass or person cover. So the total number, generally it is most appreciated method of population density. Total number. If you are getting the total number of individuals in a population, that will be exact. There is no doubt that is the clear method. There won't be any doubt in the calculation also. We can say that population density is 100 or population density is this much, right? If we know that Exact number we are saying means there is no doubt. That is a clear method. But in some cases, it will become meaningless or it will become difficult to determine. In such cases, percentage or percent cover or biomass, that is more meaningful measure of population size. Okay, where we are failing or if there is a fail in the calculation of total number, there we can use the percent cover or biomass to check the population size. See, for example, we are considering Parthenium plant. Parthenium plant is the population of Parthenium plants. So in an area, there are 200 Parthenium plants. Okay, but there is only a single big banyan tree that is having a large canopy, and that the population density of that banyan tree is low when we are comparing to the Parthenium. Okay, the banyan tree is very big with a big, very large canopy, but when we are comparing 200 Parthenium plants with a single banyan tree, the population size of Parthenium is more. Number of Parthenium is more and banyan tree is single. So the number of Parthenium which is more, that is considered. The population size of Parthenium is more. Even though that banyan tree is very big, we can't say that is big because that is only single. Here 200 Parthenium plants are there. So that Parthenium amounts to underestimate the role of the banyan tree in that community. Banyan tree, that tree may be big one, very big one. But here the number is considered. Then next is relative densities. Next method is relative density. So here again the total number, it's not an easily adaptable method. Okay, because when the population is huge and counting time, that also we need to consider. See, huge population means for counting the number of individuals, it will take lot of time or it is time consuming and it is impossible. There may be mistakes, right? We won't get an exact number. See, for example, for bacteria culture, think about a laboratory bacteria culture. How can you count the number of bacteria in that? So in a density, in a dense laboratory culture of bacteria, how we can count the number of individuals? It's impossible. So in a petri dish, by counting its number, we cannot find out the number of bacteria or we can't say the population density. Right? So for certain ecological investigation, so under some circumstances or sometimes some ecological investigators, there is no need to know the absolute density. They don't want to know the exact number of bacteria. For we need to say that the density approximate or the number per unit area. See, in a culture plate, it is difficult to find out the number of bacteria. So how we can say? We can relatively say these many numbers per unit area. That is called as relative density. So the relative density that serves the purpose equally well under this kind of cases. Okay. Relative density, that is a very good measure to find out total density of fish in a lake? How? By counting the number of fish caught per trap. Okay, so how we can calculate density or relative density of a species? Total number of individuals of a species divided by total number of individuals of all species into 100. Okay, so total number of individuals of a species divided by total number of individuals of all species into 100. So we can relatively or comparatively we can say that this much is the relative density of a particular group of organisms is this much. Or in a bacterial culture we can say per unit area these many bacteria are there. In a particular area, unit area, we can count the number of bacteria. We can't calculate total, or we cannot count in a culture plate the total number of bacteria, right? So per unit area we can count. So that is called as relative density. Next is indirect count. Next method, indirect count. So which are all the methods? Several methods to know the population size. First one is counting the total number. Then second method is biomass or percentage cover. Next is by relative density to know the population size, relative density. Last method, indirect count we can do. What is that? The population size, measurement of that population size that we can measure indirectly without counting or without directly counting or without seeing that organism. See, like tiger census and all in national park and tiger reserves in India. How we will decide or how we will count the number of tigers? We cannot go in front of tiger and check whether how many tigers are there in that forest or in that tiger reserve. If you are going directly, that's all. So in that cases, we can't go for direct counting. So which method we will follow? In that, it is based on the pug mark or the fecal pellets. Based on the fecal pellets or based on the pug marks, we are counting the number of tiger in tiger reserve, right? See, there won't be thousands and 2000s and all. That limited numbers will be there. So we can't go and count directly. So there is an indirect method or indirect counting will be done in the case of tiger census and all in national park and tiger reserves. It is based on the pug mark and fecal pellet. Okay. So what and all we have learned today? We have learned about different population attributes, birth rate and death rate, then sex ratio, then population age. In that population age, we have learned about 3 types of age pyramid in the population age. Different attributes are there. They are birth rate and death rate, sex ratio, population age, and population density. These are the different attributes, population attributes, birth rate and death rate, sex ratio, population age, and population density or population size. So under death rate and birth rate, we learned how to calculate death rate and birth rate. Then sex ratio, how to mention the sex ratio of a given population. Then population age, how to mention population age with the help of age pyramid. So there are 3 different types of age pyramid: triangular, bell-shaped, and urn-shaped. Triangular age pyramid, that is expanding one or growing one. Then bell-shaped, that is stable one. Then urn-shaped, that is the declining one or growth rate is negative. Bell-shaped means it is having 0 growth, and expanding one is triangular shape. Then we move to population density or population size. So how to count the population density or population size? There are different ways or different methods to check the population size in a given area or in a given space. That First one is to count the total number of individuals or individual organisms. Then biomass or percent cover. Then relative density we can do. If number is more, there is a huge number means relative density we can do. Then indirect counting also we can do in the case of organism where direct counting is not possible. So these are the different population attributes. So in the next class, we will be learning about population growth and different growth models and all. So up to that, hope there is no doubt in today's class. Hope it's clear. If you have any doubt, just go through all these portions. The graph, age pyramid, it is very important because every year there is a question from this part for NEET exam by mentioning the age pyramid to find out the nature of that age pyramid, and depending upon that you will get different questions. So go through all these portions. In next class we will be learning about population growth. Okay, you have any doubt means you can ask me in the next class. Hope it is clear. We'll meet in the next class. You have any doubt now? Is it clear? Okay, hope it's clear. So we'll meet in the next class. Thank you.